Answer your questions, but you must first transform back to Jennifer.
Why?
Damn.
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 Not
only did they say the visual effects department is expensive, they played the Wakandan drums just to make it.
They all know.
They all know, yeah. What do they know? They know everything. Oh, even the writers, the showrunners. Do they know?
Do they know?
Does he know?
What are they cooking? Welcome back to New Rockstars. Last Friday, Victoria Alonso, the VFX head of Marvel Studios, left, and with her leaving, raises many questions, seeing as she was the one that was leading a lot of the VFX upsides and downsides over at Marvel, also leading a big initiative to bring in diversity in as well. So this means a lot, but like, what does it completely mean for the next Marvel projects? What does this mean for the VFX overall at Marvel? Will we get crazier VFX, better, worse VFX? Also, is this part of Bob Iger's restructuring of Disney? I don't know, but we're gonna get into it all today in this Inside Marvel. This is New Rockstars weekly Marvel reaction show. I'm Jessica Clemens. Here with me is MT and Eric.
Hey, what's going on, Jessica?
Hi. Yeah, probably the biggest shakeup we've seen at Marvel since the beginning, right?
Yeah, like she's been there since like the first Iron Man, right?
Yeah, she's been there forever. And she went from like, she was pretty high up still working on Iron Man. It's not like she was like a set PA like Kevin Feige was or whatever to X-Men. I think he was was he a set PA or was he a producer on X-Men? Kevin Feige.
He was the producer's assistant on X-Men.
The producer's
He was Lauren Schuler Donner's assistant, and then he just was the nerd in the room.
Yeah, she was like still a pretty high up person in post-production when she was working on Iron Man. But she still worked her way up to work directly under Kevin Feige, and now we don't know if we don't know if she's been let go. We just know that she left. So we're gonna speculate a little bit on what that could mean, just because the future of Marvel, losing the person that was like the head of visual effects and post-production, has just now left. So there's a lot of questions we have with all these pushes.
It's tea time.
God, be sure to check out nerdriot.shop, where you can always grab the latest and greatest New Rockstars gear. Right now, you can check out our new line of merch inspired by The Mandalorian Season 3, support our channel, and check out our great merch options over there at nerdriot.shop. I think my boy is wearing the Baba Yaga tee. The Baba Yaga
tee.
Look at that.
Repping John Wick.
Good one.
R.I.P. Lance Reddick. We love you.
Oh,
yeah,
R.I.P.
Papa. And don't forget to subscribe to our newest channel, The Deep Dive. Eric just dropped the Marvel Removed Storylines video in this investigation, and I agree with it completely, wholeheartedly. It is so insane. I was also like, when I was watching Eric's the breakdown of this, I was just like, at the very beginning, I was like, Kevin, answer up. Why is this missing? Why did you take this out? And there's a lot actually in it that involves a lot of the VFX that happened and a lot of maybe what can tie to her leaving.
We had been working on that one for a couple of weeks, and then suddenly this news dropped, and I'm like, we got to drop this today. Like, this is it answers a lot of our questions, but raises more.
Yeah, well, it's also just surprising how much, for me at least, it was surprising to recognize how much of a lot of the pushing, like in dates, is because of reshoots or just reshoots because of post-production or visual effects had to be altered. And I was like, because it's so expensive. And if you're sourcing not only within house, you're doing outside of this, outside of the Marvel Studios, you're doing to freelancers. So it's like so much commotion. You saw what KEVIN said about She-Hulk's looks. It takes a lot. Either way, you guys. And if you're planning on being at WonderCon this year, New Rockstars will be doing a live panel this Friday, March 24th at 2:30 p.m. We'll be doing a fun live show completely different than anything you've seen on this channel. So be sure to stop by and say hi. It's going to be me, Zach, Eric, Tommy, and a lot of guests, friends and family of New Rockstars will also make a little appearance. That's this Friday, March 24th at 2:30 p.m. at WonderCon. I'll sign your baby's head. Okay, now to the meat of the discussion. No more signing baby. No more kissing and signing babies. You guys, the people want to know, who is Victoria Alonso? I made it rhyme on purpose. So really quick, I'm going to give you guys a rundown, then I'm going to give you the question. Victoria Alonso has been with Marvel Studios since Iron Man. She was the chief of visual effects and post-production. Then over the years, she worked all the way up to president, physical and post-production, visual effects and animation production. That's a long title. And if you're in Hollywood, you notice that after a certain amount of time, you just start making up your title so it looks like you do everything. When you do everything, you just kind of have to bulk it together. She basically does work directly under Kevin Feige, though, so that's a big thing. Now, she oversaw WandaVision and She-Hulk, but she most recently worked on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. She'll also be credited as a producer for The Guardians 3, The Marvels, Secret Invasion, Ironheart, Echo, and Agatha Coven of Chaos. I don't necessarily want to speculate on what she did as a human because I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I do know that there's rumors that she did make a really hard work environment for a lot of the VFX people working in the Marvel studios. So if you do want to talk about it, feel free to add on to it. Personally, I just want to know, what does this mean for visual effects overall at Marvel? Because we know they're under fire, like I said earlier, for unhealthy work conditions and labor for the VFX teams or freelancers. So with her leaving, does this mean that it gives more way for bigger projects to prosper, or are we going to kind of get a little speed bump of momentum to the visual effects?
That's that's an interesting question. And as Jess said, there's just a lot we don't know. We're still waiting on a statement from Marvel as of this taping. But I think one thing that we can all agree on is the scale of the output of Marvel Studios drastically increased between 2019 and 2021. And I'm getting into a lot of debates with people on Twitter right now. Well, still Marvel has bad writing. Well, still Marvel's doing a lot of reshoots. The writing quality at Marvel, in my opinion, has stayed roughly the same. The style of writing, you can't numerically grade writing. You can say maybe you don't relate or you don't connect to the writing, but I would say it's still kind of the jokey, ironic, detached style of self-referentialness that has been there since Phase 1 when Jon Favreau was directing these movies and Joss Whedon was writing these scripts. It's still the same overall kind of style, and they did a lot of reshoots on those movies and still tinkered with these movies in post-production. But what has changed is the scale, and it's really hard to balance all that. Now, good VFX can be done on streaming. I think there's some great VFX work that has been done in Star Wars. I think there's some great VFX work that's been done in Game of Thrones. The Last of Us had some pretty good VFX work. I think there's a lot of people on Twitter who claim to be VFX experts and don't know what they're talking about. Those giraffes are definitely fake. I can tell.
Twitter's an expert.
Yeah, those giraffes were real in The Last of Us. What you were relating to is its connection to a blue screen. And you think that the thing in front of the blue screen is fake, but no, it's the background that's fake. So people don't know what they're talking about. But what is clear is that it's hard to have all these things connect if you're going to be directing and producing movies this way that relies so much on previs. You really have to have a tight ship of true believers who all believe and understand the cause. And you see that at Lucasfilm. The artists who work at Lucasfilm are super pumped and super excited. And are really excited to bring things like the Mythosar to life. At Marvel, I think a lot of people, because there's so much secrecy, they don't know what they're working on. So they're like, you're just asking me to animate Ant-Man, a giant Ant-Man punching things, and I have no idea where he's going, and I'm just kind of I'm burnt out now, and I don't know what the plan is. So I think it's a combination of all these things of secrecy, of the amount of output and the amount of interconnectivity and the last minute requests. If you go back and watch interviews from Infinity War, the VFX supervisor and the Russo brothers and the writers are in lockstep. They're excited to work together. Now you don't see that. You don't see the VFX artists on these interviews together. It's all behind closed doors.
I think that's a good thing to jump off of too, or not jumping point, but good to nail in and remind ourselves that animation and visual effects take so much time and so much hard work, and people 8 hours is actually 12 hours, and 12 hours is actually a week, and you're working on just making this movement happen from this person jumping, and it takes a lot of teamwork. It takes a lot of help and a lot of support, and you guys all need to feel like you really want to work on this to put that love and work into it. And that's why I'm and I'm not a person that understands visual effects. I'm not gonna act like I freaking do. I went to school for editing, and every time I had to do After Effects, I was so confused at what I was making. And that's why I'm always I don't think it's that bad. But it's also I think Marvel does need to give them more time. We need to give them more time, and we
yeah.
can't keep letting directors restructure things. We can't have people last minute. I love the Russo brothers, and I don't think they do this a lot, but I know that there's directors that'll be like, nah, we need to cut this and reshoot this. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. You can't fix everything in post. Sometimes once it gets to post, you let them handle it, and they have an allocated amount of time before it either goes overseas or it takes them forever to work on it. So I'm like, I think this step is towards something giving Marvel more time on the what they have at hand versus blasting out a bunch of things and forcing people to go from She-Hulk to Wakanda Forever to all these other different properties. But
yeah, do you
MT,
think it's the directors restructuring things, or do you think it's the studio having like taken stuff off the director's plate and restructuring those parts?
I think it's both. I think the studio is working to restructure things to make it easier, but I don't know if the studio works that closely with the directors because we switch directors so often. We don't really, like Ryan Coogler, we kept on 2. Yes, we did. We keep a lot of them on 2, but some of them have only done 1 movie. Like, what's her name? Chloe Zhao that did Eternals. She'll come back for Eternals 2, but right now she only has 1. And it's like we move these directors in and out so quickly, including the series, that it's like we don't have enough time to give them the rundown of what to do. So I think the studio's like, this is what a director should do, but it's like not all directors work like that. And you need to be ready for the directors that don't work inside your box to like just give them a little note. That's just me. That's me working in production since I've been in LA that I'm like, yeah, sometimes it gets really hard. And sometimes it's the directors or the EPs that are like, we'll fix it in post. MT, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was just going to ask, like, do you guys think that, like, because of this head of VFX sort of leaving Marvel, do you guys think that we'll see delays in, like, you know, Secret Wars, Kang Dynasty, like all the Phase 5, I guess, and now maybe I shouldn't go to Phase 6, like Phase 5 stuff. Like, do you think we'll see delays in projects as they restructure? And
she's still a producer for, like, the Marvels, for Secret Invasion, for Agatha Coven of Chaos. So I think those ones she worked on still. So it's the little ones like Armor Wars, maybe not. The ones further down the line?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to what they're credited on, the work that they've already done on these projects, that's more of like a PGA, like an industry standard thing. The work you've done on, like James Gunn still got credit on like Infinity War and Endgame, despite the fact that at the time he was away from Marvel, you know? I think what we're gonna see, we are already in the process of seeing delays. The Marvels already got delayed. Secret Invasion's coming out a bit later than we thought. Loki's coming out a bit later than we thought. But I think that's all part of a bigger picture that we'll talk about as we keep going through this episode. But I think what we will see, I think as part of Victoria Alonso leaving the studio, maybe some of these titles that they announced for Phase 5 might now be roped in with other things. Like rather than see, like, I just would not be surprised if rather than seeing an Echo series, we see Echo as part of the front lineup for Kang Dynasty. It's going to be hard for them. I think they're big tent poles, Kang Dynasty, Secret Wars. They're going to try to stick to those as much as possible because those are still important dates for Disney shareholders and they're going to want to hit those release dates. But some of these Disney Plus titles might now be folded into some of those big tent poles instead of being their own thing.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's like Loki, and it's so interesting to figure out what their tent poles are because I would assume Loki is definitely number 1 or one of them. I assume Guardians is also another one of them. But they're going to end up pushing. I know they're going to end up pushing Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars.
You think so?
End up push. I think they're not by a lot. It's not going to be like a full year, but I think they are going to push it down the line, especially because like I don't think Blade directly infects that, but I think Blade's going to maybe get pushed one more time and some other properties. So
see, I think the big ones, they're just like, I think they would be less willing to ship those big ones because just an Avengers title coming in May of some year is like, I feel like they would move everything else out of the way just to hit that, just to make sure that Disney had a good year that year. Yeah. You know, but what we're less likely to see guaranteed to stay in their spot are some of these other sequels, like things like Blade, things like, New World Order, like Thunderbolts. Like I'd be surprised if Thunderbolts kept its spot, but Kang Dynasty didn't.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you can't have even those little hiccups for the tinier shows. It's like those people are still going to show up in either Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars. So it's like you can't really shift it too much because we still got to keep them. And there was like a rumor that like Fantastic Four wouldn't appear in Secret Wars or something like that. And it was like, what is going on?
I think it was Loveness was asked if he was using the Fantastic Four, I think. And he's like, no, they're not really on my plate. But I think, but now we're also hearing rumors that like Loki is going to now factor into like the Fantastic Four. Like, I think they're reconfiguring who their lineups are going to be. And I think that's affecting like who gets spinoffs. Like, it's just interesting. We saw at D23 a trailer for Ironheart, and we saw a trailer for Echo. And now I'm looking at the slate ahead, and it's like, does Marvel need both those shows? I'm like, I want to watch both those shows, but like, I think they're on the chopping block.
Really?
They could be that. It would be what DC did, and that's just like DC kind of has. This is a bad thing to say, and I don't mean it to heart, but DC kind of has the money to lose. I don't know if Marvel has the money to lose like that. Like Bob Iger doesn't want to lose money because they already shot so much of it, of both those things, that it's like to put it on the chopping block, maybe push it, but put it on the chop. We're gonna get into this because the next question is about Bob Iger's restructuring plan, which this completely comes in full swing with. So we'll get back to Inside Marvel, but first we'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsors that help bring Inside Marvel to you. If you're one of those folks that has a yard, you probably are dreading spending your weekend taking care of it. Leave that dread behind and reclaim your weekend. Sunday Lawn Care can take one thing off your to-do list. Instead of spending time working on your yard with Sunday, you can spend time enjoying it. Sunday is everything you need to get the lawn you've dreamed of. This spring, go to getsunday.com/Marvel and enter your address to get your customized plan created just for your lawn. No trips to the store or hauling heavy bags since they ship straight to your home. You just need a house to apply Sunday. You can fertilize your whole lawn in less time than it takes to watch an episode of your favorite TV show. And they can only use ingredients you can feel good about. No harsh chemicals, no long waiting periods, or trying to keep your kids and pets off that lawn. Get those kids off my lawn! You simply apply, let it dry, and you're back to enjoying your yard, not the kid's yard, your yard. Sunday is easy and affordable. Some lawn care services cost more than $1,500 a year, but Sunday's full season plans start at $109. And Sunday's offering our listeners 20% off. Full season plans start at just $109, and you can get 20% off when you visit getsunday.com/Marvel at checkout. That's 20% off your custom plan to getsunday.com/Marvel.
And while we're waiting for our next piece of sweet, sweet Marvel content, we might as well get a great night's sleep. And for years, we here at New Rockstars have trusted our sleep to Helix. Helix makes premium mattresses and bedding that are custom to fit your needs and conveniently shipped right to your door. Which Helix mattress is right for you? Don't worry about it. Helix made a sleep quiz that matches your unique body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. And based on your different sleep positions and fitness preferences, they have something for everyone's unique taste. And if you sleep with a partner, you can take the sleep quiz together and find something that's the perfect compromise for both of you. I freaking love my Helix mattress. I sleep on it every night, and it helps me just sleep like a baby. I feel like a big old baby sleeper. And the best part about all of this is that Helix delivers your mattress right to your door. It was quite amazing when I got it. I was like, how is there a mattress in this box? Is this astronaut technology? I don't understand. With free shipping in the US. And plus, Helix has a 100-night sleep trial, so you get more than 3 months to make sure that you love it or get a full refund. Helix mattresses have a 10-year warranty, and they even offer financing options and flexible payment plans, so a great night's sleep is never far away. I love my Helix, and I think that you would too. And if you're looking for a new bed, check out Helix. You can click the link below or go to helixsleep.com/InsideMarvel to get 20% off your Helix mattress plus 2 free pillows. That's helixsleep.com/InsideMarvel.
So this is where we're getting into Bob Iger's restructuring plan. This is where we're getting into the nitty. Ooh, Robert Iger. This is where we get into
Christian name.
Robbie. Yeah, we get into Robbie Cool Train's restructuring plan. So I mentioned earlier, and we've been talking about it a little bit, the CEO Bob Iger, who's restructuring a lot of Disney right now. As soon as he came back, his comeback return. They're starting to focus on quality over quantity, and that will reduce the cost on some films and TV shows. So how could that affect Marvel's VFX and the Marvel Studios overall? Because they're not only doing it, they're not only applying this structuring to just Marvel, it's also to it's Lucasfilms, it's Star Wars, it's to Disney overall, it's Disney parks. But they did mention a lot with Marvel how it's these great characters are amazing, but do they need like 3 movies? Do they need 4 movies? Maybe we can just go back down to putting them in one big Avengers movie, which I think, Voss, you were kind of mentioning with like Echo not getting her own series, but being in the forefront for like Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars.
Yeah. And I should just be clear. This is just my thinking. As far as we know, Echo is still going to come out as a series. Yeah. But I think what we all have to recognize in terms of budget is even though something has wrapped on production, yes, that's a lot of money. We're talking in the millions that they probably spent on that. The Hollywood math used to be whatever the budget of the announced project is, double it in terms of overall cost because the other half of that comes from the marketing of it. Mm-hmm. Really, now we're talking about triple it because the other third of it comes from the VFX budget that has to go into it. So even though something has wrapped, you still save a buttload of money if you were to cut. I know I'm thinking like freaking like a crazy man right now, cut these things. I'm not making an argument for Disney to cut these things because I still want to see them. I'm just saying from Bob Iger's perspective, yeah, you cut a lot of cost by not having to like spend all that money on VFX, on reshoots, on paying these actors to come back and rebuild the sets and put them on location, on whatever. Because the thing is, the amount of money they're spending on the cast of these things, they're not paying the actors that much. They keep hiring new cast. They're not paying Tom Cruise to be on set. It'd be different if it was Robert Downey Jr., whose project where you had to pay him a ton at the front end. It's not the same dealio. And I think that's why you're starting to hear things now that there's a Mephisto special presentation in the works. They might have signed a deal with Sacha Baron Cohen at the front and they have to put him in something. And now they're like, okay, it'll be cheaper just to shoot a special presentation than it will be to continue working on editing, reshooting these episodes of Ironheart to make it make sense and to make it really good. That's why I'm just starting to read between the lines here.
Speaking of like special presentations, I feel like we might be seeing more of those more so than full shows. Mm-hmm. Because like, they're less VFX intensive, like Erik was saying, and it's just like, it just makes sense considering that, like presentations like Werewolf by Night getting like so much praise and like so much love. And that's like a short little bubble story. And I feel like people like seeing Marvel, but like you don't necessarily need a whole 8 or 18 episode season with VFX to do that. And I think that we might be seeing more just really short stories of like, here's this new character, here's Werewolf by Night, here's a Man-Thing story, here's so-and-so, to like to get more heroes into the MCU without having to invest in like a full movie or a full TV show. So I'd be down for more special presentations because I love them.
I enjoyed Werewolf by Night more than I enjoyed Moon Knight.
Ooh.
Like I don't know if Moon Knight was better business. You got to imagine Moon Knight with Oscar Isaac, 6 episodes of it, probably got more subscribers on Disney Plus than Werewolf by Night did. But if we're talking about like some of these lower tier series, I enjoyed Ms. Marvel probably more than I enjoyed Werewolf by Night, but like, did it do as good of business, as some of these other Disney Plus shows? Like if you're looking at it purely from a cold-hearted, soulless business mindset, if you're committed to releasing some of these titles, could you release Echo or Ironheart as a one-shot special presentation? That's
what I think is really difficult to think of. 2 things. Difficult to think about with the special presentation because not only did like the special presentation premiere in like LA on 35mm film, so it's pulling in people that aren't necessarily superhero fans. So would Ms. Marvel as a special presentation get as much as Werewolf by Night? I don't know, because it's also Werewolf by Night was like marketed as like kind of a horror thriller and it was very violent. So it's like appeasing to an audience that isn't really a superhero audience, but could be because it's a part of the MCU. So it's like that special presentation was so specific. And I think the same would apply to Mephisto, Sacha Baron Cohen doing a special presentation because it's going to be more about like not hell specifically, but it's going to be like not metaphysical. What is the word? Like witchy. It's going to be witchy. It's going to be the underworld. And I think that darkness is what people kind of really get to. And maybe they're going to be following that suit with Werewolf by Night. I think special presentations are cheaper to do for sure. And we should take as much advantage of them as possible. And then we can release them in small theaters and then they would just be great. But this kind of ties into the third question of, in what more ways than one can we see Marvel's restructuring? And because it's going to be like, it's not going to be major things. I mean, I think these like pushes that we're seeing so far are kind of directly connected to to what's happening with the restructuring plan. I think special presentations will also be a part of the restructuring plan, because they're like, Bob Iger's like, we don't need to do 3, 4, 5 movies off this one character. We can give you a special presentation or get you like them showing up and appearing as a cameo in another episode. So Coy mentioned that we're going to stick to more grounded things than in space things. And that's why they're giving Daredevil a lot of episodes. And I'm like, yeah, Daredevil probably is a lot easier, lot on the budget than like Eternals would be. So sticking to those heroes that are ground fighters that don't need too much, like Werewolf by Night, where everything was more practical of him throwing people, they might actually get into Michael Waldron being a new writer deal. Like they have to go through Michael Waldron's ideas. He's going to be an in-house writer. It's easier to grab him. Lucasfilms using them for sound. What are other ways that we're going to see them restructure, but maybe that we wouldn't know, that everyone would notice?
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a big question. And I answered like 2 of them by saying Lucasfilms and Michael Waldron.
We're going to see the Guardians flying in the Millennium Falcon instead, just to save money. They already have it on set. I'm just kidding.
My expectation is that they are going to invest more in the talent that they already have contracts with, and putting them in interesting situations and letting a team of creatives just work their magic, as opposed to investing in new talent that people don't know and throwing VFX at them. We go back to like, I think those are at least studio lessons learned from Miss Marvel from just 2022. Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk. All 3 had new talent in them. And yeah, people know Oscar Isaac. Not as many people know Tatiana Maslany. Not as many people. No one really knew Iman Vellani. But all 3 of those shows, they just threw VFX at these things to varying degrees of success. And expected that formula to be winning, and it didn't. I don't think. I don't think that worked with the hardcore MCU fans. It did bring in some new audiences, but I don't think it moved the needle with subscribers on Disney Plus. But what did work is some experimentation with WandaVision and with Loki. Those are longtime MCU actors, and they partnered them with really talented writers and really talented directors and really talented production designers, and came up with some really great. I think Loki is like anomalistic. I think that was just like, they had a great concept for that show. But like WandaVision, I feel like is replicable. That's why I think Agatha Coven of Chaos, Mephisto, and other kind of like cheeky TV history titles like Vision Quest or Wonder Man could work.
Yeah, I agree. I think, but it's also my thinking, and this is not logical, is what happens when they're trying to leave or they do die? Because even like how we felt with Ant-Man, it's like, yeah, there's a piece of me that was like, I wanted Ant-Man to die at the end of Quantumania. So what happens when the people that have made like a real big indent have to die or just need to leave? And I think that's what we got with Phase 4 was it's like, okay, these stories are kind of wrapping up. We need to get a new bundle. So maybe, is that what we're going to be seeing from Marvel going forward? Is it's going to go like up and then down and then up and then down again? Because it's like, they don't need to add any new characters. We got like 7 new ones from Phase 4. So you're good. You're good for now. Don't add any more. But eventually those 7 will go on or pass away or pass the mantle 10 years from now. So in that 10 years, are we going to get new characters and just go back down to a plateau?
I don't think they have to kill them off. I don't think... I think there, as you said, Jess, there are plenty introduced just in the first year of Phase 4. Like, I don't understand why they announce an Echo spinoff series before we say Shang-Chi is getting a fighting tournament series. Shang-Chi was such a huge hit. Everyone knew it in September 2021. Why 2 months later did they're like, before anyone had even known really who Echo was from Hawkeye, or they're like, we're going to do an Echo series? That doesn't make sense to me. Like, that's why I think like, Shang-Chi was such a hit. Everyone wants Shang-Chi fighting tournament. Do announce a 10-ring series coming Disney Plus 2023, and you're going to get a huge wave of subscribers. Like, there's just so many weird... I get that you don't have access to the X-Men yet. I get that. But, like, you have obvious wins coming out of Phase 1. And, like, there's still, like, we need to bring in different people who no one has any attachment to and give them 8 episodes.
It's hard because she also, she's been credited, Victoria Alonso, for bringing the diversity into Marvel's studios. And so it's like, I agree. If I had to choose between Shang-Chi or Echo, I would probably choose Shang-Chi. He was such a great character, such a great movie. But it's like, do you think we're pushing for Echo because we don't really have a lot of Native American representation in the cinematic universe. And a lot of Phase 4 is built on diversity, not even in race, in gender, in sexuality. And so I'm like, I love the initiative, but it does seem like you guys are jumping before you even look. Looking before you go and push these projects, because I don't want Echo to be set up for disaster. I don't want you guys to speed on this before we even have a handle on it. Give her a good platform, give her a good jumping point. And right now it just seems like you guys are just trying to push it out and not really thinking about the story or where she could go perfectly.
Yeah, or why not introduce Echo as a warrior in a fighting tournament in a 10-ring show? You have Echo is like a focal character in a 10-ring show. Team her up with Shang-Chi, and the two of them are fighting in the 10 rings tournament. That is how you set her up for success, right? You know she's a great warrior.
And then give her the show.
I agree with Erik 100% because like I feel like having characters that were introduced in a movie versus having a character that was introduced in a TV show that not everyone watched, like Hawkeye, I feel like might do Echo a little bit of a disservice. Like, whereas if Echo was introduced in Shang-Chi as this badass person, then people be like, oh, yo, there's an Echo show coming out. Like, let's see what she's all about. And because there's more eyes on that character on a big screen versus a TV show. So I feel like maybe, hopefully in the future, we'll see like more so of the introductions of those characters that do get their own TV show in a movie versus a TV project.
Yeah, I feel this way about Ironheart too. Like, you can have Riri Williams as like the technological competitor in this fighting tournament, and then they each get their own episode. The way Monica Rambeau in WandaVision had her own episode that flashed back to her past, and it was so great. It's like Lost. Like, every episode of the first season of Lost, you flash back to the past. It's like a classic TV structure way to introduce characters. Yellow Jackets is doing a great job of this. I think Severance did a great job with Point of View. Ted Lasso did this really well with Nate and giving him certain episodes and able to build him up. Like, you can have fighting tournament episodes where each episode you have like Riri flashing back to Chicago and she's building her shit and she's dealing with the Hood, and then you can just have like different spotlights each episode while putting them in a context that viewers care about.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It's so hard because we have no notes to give to Marvel that's like, we don't know how it works. How are we supposed to know that Echo wasn't going to be as major as, and then these people that come up with these ideas, they come out right after the property comes out. So it's like because they shot it, right? And then you get like 6 months till it comes out. And then you get like 4 months to choose whether or not you want to go with the second version of it or a spinoff or something else. So you don't really get that opportunity to really sit down and chew on it. You kind of just have to like, should we do it or should we not do it? And it's like, we're going to do it. And it didn't really land for a lot of people. Or not land, but more so like, just didn't give us enough meat. Give us enough meat to chew on yet. So with the final question for this Inside Marvel, overall, you guys, will there be a new Victoria Alonso? Will there be a new head of visual effects? With what we said with Robert Iger restructuring, will they just... I laugh at this. They can't put Kevin Feige as the head of visual effects. You can't.
No, that's not.
No, it's going to be Kevin Feige's hat, actually.
No.
As the head of VFX.
Okay, so sorry. So sorry. My bad. Everyone knows what's happening with the VFX with Marvel. We all are aware of it. There's no hiding it. They have these poor people are working themselves to death making these visual effects for them. There's so many movies that require so much visual effects that it's like they need a new Victoria Alonso, right? They like not even because she left, we need someone else in that position. They can't be, there'll be a bunch of chickens with their head cut off, right?
Yeah. Like there has to be a new Victoria Alonso because like at the end of the day, like the VFX department of any comic book universe is the heart of the universe, in my opinion. Because like that's essentially the art of the comic book, essentially. Like without VFX, there is nothing. True. And I feel like when they do get a new Victoria Alonso, that person really has to prioritize giving these VFX workers more time and just listening to them and like you just be like, hey, what do you need to give us the best product? In like working together with them rather than being like, we need this done by 8:00 tonight, or I need to see the She-Hulk's detail on her face immediately. And you know, it's just like, I just want these people to feel happy going to work and not to feel stressed out because crunch is unfun. And like, I just don't like workers being crunched in general. So like, if there's a new Victoria Alonso, which there will be, because there has to be, hopefully they prioritize that.
Yeah, I think we're all probably feeling a bit out of our depth right now because we're talking about like studio business synergistic structure and hires and things like that. But I think what they do need is to bring in-house this VFX operation to where you have an artist making the decisions. So they need to hire the head of Weta or the head of Cantina or the head of Frame Store to oversee this operation. Someone who is an artist, who understands the needs, who is in a healthy, positive partnership with the executive team. So I think what we really need more than like a new Victoria Alonso is we just need like a new position, a new way to think about the way this is organized. And so that you can bring in Nate Moore and Brad Winderbaum and these other guys, and they have like a healthy, that position might already exist in-house at Marvel, but we need to like what you see at Pixar, what you see at Lucasfilm are those artists are working for the studio. They have it in-house. So they are all like excited to work on these projects. It's like it almost makes more sense to bring in someone who's head of stunts, like bring in one of these stunt coordination teams in-house so that they have an Disney email address and can go to the parks for free with their families, you know, like
100%.
Stop pitting these companies against each other to be contractors and make them all Imagineers.
Yeah.
Yes. They have a Victoria Alonso. They need someone in between Victoria Alonso and that. You saw how long her title was. She's not only doing visual effects, she was doing physical production. You need someone else to do the physical production that also has a background in visual effects, that knows how to make it work. And so maybe it's just like, restructure Disney. Restructure all you need, but think about your employees first. Okay, that's it for the episode of Inside Marvel. Reminder to subscribe to the Deep Dive channel at Deep Dive NR. Follow me at Lulu_Clemens. Follow Erik at EA Voss and follow MT at Mastertainment. Subscribe to Inside Marvel wherever you get your podcasts. And thanks for watching. We'll see you later.
Hey, gang, gang.